I'm Arya, 22 years old, and I just graduated summa cum laude as valedictorian of my class. For 4 years, I worked myself to exhaustion for this moment, dreaming my parents would finally see my worth. Then came their text, too tired to drive. Hours later, I saw their Instagram posts at my sister's spa day, laughing with champagne glasses. I said nothing until I reached that podium, looked straight into the livestream camera, and changed my speech. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Growing up in a middle class suburban neighborhood in Boston, my childhood home looked picture perfect from the outside. White picket fence, neatly trimmed lawn, and a family of four that seemed straight out of a sitcom. My father, James, worked as an investment banker, and my mother, Margaret, taught third grade at the local elementary school. Then there was my younger sister, Samantha, just 13 months my junior at 21, and me, Arya. From as early as I can remember, there was an unspoken dynamic in our household. Samantha was the golden child. I was simply the other daughter. It wasn't anything dramatic or obvious to outsiders. My parents never explicitly said they loved Samantha more, but their actions spoke volumes. Samantha was outgoing, bubbly, and social from day one. She had her first modeling gig for a local department store at age 6. By 12, she was winning beauty pageants. At 16, she was already being scouted by fashion photographers. My parents beamed with pride at every turn. I, on the other hand, was the studious one. Books were my sanctuary from an early age. While Samantha was practicing her runway walk, I was solving math equations that were meant for students 5 grades above me. When Samantha was going to sleepovers and making friends, I was entering science competitions and academic decathlons. The disparity in how our achievements were celebrated was subtle but consistent. When Samantha won a local junior pageant, my parents threw a massive party, invited the entire extended family, and presented her with a custom made trophy case. When I won the state science fair with a project on renewable energy that earned me a scholarship to a summer program at MIT, they said, "That's nice, honey," and went back to watching TV. For my 10th birthday, I asked for a telescope. I received a gift card to a bookstore instead. For Samantha's 10th birthday, she asked for a professional camera. She got the camera, 3 lenses, a tripod, and professional lighting equipment. I remember one particular day when I was 14. I had just found out I had earned a perfect score on the PSAT, something my guidance counselor said happened to less than 1% of students nationwide. I rushed home excited to share the news. When I walked through the door, the house was buzzing with activity. My parents were hanging a banner that read, "Congratulations, Samantha." She had been chosen to model for a local boutique's spring catalog. My news was met with, "We'll look at your tests later, Arya. Help us blow up these balloons for your sister." Later never came. My grandmother was the only one who seemed to notice the imbalance. During her visits, she would pull me aside and tell me how proud she was of my achievements. "You keep working hard, Arya," she would say. "Your mind is going to take you places no one in this family has ever been." When she passed away during my sophomore year of high school, I lost my biggest champion. My parents paid for Samantha's modeling portfolio, acting classes, and beauty pageant entrance fees without question. Meanwhile, I worked at the local library to save for college application fees. They assumed my academic scholarships would cover everything, so why worry? By the time high school graduation came around, the pattern was set in stone. Samantha, who barely maintained a B- average but was voted prom queen, had a graduation party that rivaled most weddings. My graduation, where I was announced as valedictorian, was acknowledged with a dinner at Olive Garden. My father spent half the meal answering work emails on his phone. When college acceptance letters arrived, I received a full academic scholarship to Princeton University. Samantha enrolled in the local community college to study fashion marketing. My departure for college was treated as a logistical inconvenience. Samantha choosing to stay local was celebrated as a blessing. I tried not to let it bother me. I told myself that once I achieved enough, once I proved myself thoroughly enough, they would finally see me. They would finally be proud. That belief was the fuel that pushed me through countless all-nighters, research papers, and final exams. One day I thought, one day they'll see my worth. How naive I was. The 4 years of my college experience were a peculiar mix of freedom and pressure. freedom from the constant reminders of my secondary status at home, yet pressure I placed on myself to finally achieve something my parents couldn't ignore. From day one at Princeton, I approached my education like a military campaign. I crafted color coded study schedules, joined the most prestigious academic clubs, and signed up for the hardest classes with the toughest professors. While other freshmen were experiencing their first taste of independence through parties and social events, I was in the library until closing time every night. The financial reality of college hit hard despite my scholarship. Room, board, books, and living expenses weren't fully covered, so I juggled 3 part-time jobs between classes. Mornings at the campus coffee shop starting at 5 a.m., afternoons tutoring other students in calculus and physics, weekends working remotely as a data entry clerk for an insurance company. Every dollar I earned went toward my education and living expenses, while my parents paid for Samantha's entire community college tuition without hesitation. My roommate Jasmine became the closest thing to family I had during those years. She was a pre-med student who understood the drive to excel. More importantly, she noticed things about me that my own parents never had. "You know you don't have to get perfect scores on everything, right?" she said one night when she found me still studying at 3 in the morning for an exam I was already fully prepared for. "The world won't end if you get an A minus instead of an A plus." I remember staring at her, the concept so foreign, it might as well have been spoken in another language. In my mind, anything less than perfection meant continued invisibility. By junior year, I had maintained a perfect 4.0 GPA. When I called home with the news that I had been selected for a highly competitive internship at a major tech company that typically only accepted graduate students, my mother's response was, "That's nice. But did you hear Samantha was chosen to organize the community fashion show? She might get to meet people from actual fashion magazines." That same week, I received a care package from my parents. I was momentarily touched by the gesture until I opened it and found it was mostly filled with items for me to give to any friends who might be interested in fashion, along with Samantha's modeling portfolio to show around campus. There was a small bag of my favorite cookies at the bottom, at least, though they were stale by the time they arrived. Senior year brought the grueling process of completing my honors thesis. I chose to research artificial intelligence applications in detecting early-stage cancer, inspired by Jasmine's pre-med studies. For 6 months, I barely slept. I conducted original research, collaborated with professors from the medical school, and even developed a prototype algorithm that showed promising results. My thesis advisor, Professor Williams, told me it was graduate-level work. "This is extraordinary, Aria," he said after reading my final draft. "I've never had an undergraduate produce work of this caliber." The validation felt good, but a familiar thought immediately followed. Would it be enough for my parents to finally notice 2 weeks before graduation? I received the email I had been working toward for 4 years. "Congratulations," it read. "You have been selected as this year's valedictorian." With shaking hands, I called home. For once, both my parents were on the line. "Mom, Dad, I have news," I said, unable to keep the excitement from my voice. "I'm going to be valedictorian." There was a pause before my mother responded. "Oh, that's the speech giver, right?" "Yes," I said, my enthusiasm dimming slightly. "It's the highest academic honor. Only one student is chosen each year." "Well, that's wonderful, honey," my father said in the same tone he used when commenting on the weather. "Listen, Samantha just walked in. She has big news, too. She got offered a job at the mall as an assistant manager at that boutique she likes." And just like that, the conversation shifted to Samantha's achievement. I sat on my dorm room bed, phone pressed to my ear, as my parents gushed about how their younger daughter was moving up in the world of fashion. Despite this familiar disappointment, I threw myself into planning for graduation day. I purchased extra tickets for the ceremony, enough for my parents, Samantha, and even a few aunts and uncles. I called my parents multiple times to confirm they would attend, each time receiving casual assurances that, of course, they would be there for my big speech thing. Jasmine helped me shop for the perfect outfit to wear under my graduation gown. "Your parents are going to be so proud when they see you up on that stage," she said as I tried on a dress that cost more than I would typically spend on a month's worth of groceries. I just smiled, wanting to believe her, but knowing better. Every night for 2 weeks, I practiced my valedictorian speech in front of my dorm room mirror. I crafted each word carefully, imagining the moment my parents would finally look at me with the same pride they reserved for Samantha. The speech was filled with gratitude and hope, acknowledging the support of family and looking toward bright futures. It was the perfect speech, one that would make any parent proud. The night before graduation, I called home one last time. "So, we'll see you tomorrow at 10, right?" I confirmed. "The ceremony starts at 11, but they want graduates and families there early." "We'll be there," my mother promised. "Your father is mapping out the route right now. It's about 3 hours, so we'll leave bright and early." "Great," I said, relief washing over me. "I can't wait for you to hear my speech." "We're looking forward to it," my father called from the background. "Wouldn't miss it for anything." I went to bed that night feeling something unfamiliar anticipation, that tomorrow might finally be the day my achievements would be enough. Graduation morning arrived with perfect blue skies and a gentle May breeze. I woke up early, too excited and nervous to sleep. This was it, the day I'd worked toward for 4 years. The culmination of all my efforts, all those nights studying until dawn, all those sacrifices. Jasmine helped me with my hair, curling it into soft waves that would look nice when I removed my cap after the ceremony. "You look amazing," she said, stepping back to admire her work. "Valedictorian and best hair. You're really showing the rest of us up." I laughed, checking my phone for the 10th time that morning. No messages from my parents, but that was okay. They were probably on the road already, focusing on driving. I sent a quick text. "Can't wait to see you. Remember to park in the west lot." By 8:30, I was fully dressed in my gown and cap, my honors cords and medallion displayed proudly. Jasmine's parents arrived bearing flowers and proud smiles. They insisted on taking photos of me in my full regalia, treating me almost like a second daughter. "Your parents are going to burst with pride when they see you," Mrs. Patel said, adjusting my cap. At 9:15, my phone vibrated. Finally, I excused myself to read the message from my mother. "Sorry, honey, don't think we can make it after all. Dad's not feeling well, and we're both just too tired for that long drive. Take some pictures for us. We'll celebrate when you get home." I stared at the text, reading it over and over, convinced I must be misunderstanding. This couldn't be happening. Not today, not after everything. I called immediately. The phone rang 4 times before my mother answered, her voice sounding perfectly fine, not at all like someone caring for an ill spouse. "Mom, it's my graduation. I'm the valedictorian. You promised you'd be here." "I know, sweetie, but your father just isn't up to it. You know how his back gets on long car rides." "What about his back?" "He never mentioned his back before. You said last night you were coming." "Well, things change. We're just too tired. You understand, don't you? It's such a long drive." "It's 3 hours, Mom. 3 hours to see your daughter graduate at the top of her class and give a speech." "Don't be dramatic, Arya. It's not like we're missing your wedding, it's just a ceremony. The important thing is you graduated. We're very proud of you." Her words were right, but her tone conveyed boredom, as if my graduation was an inconvenient errand she was glad to cross off her list. "Put Dad on the phone," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "He's resting." "I thought you were both just tired, not that he was sick enough to need rest at 9 in the morning." A sigh. "Don't be difficult, Arya. We'll watch the live stream if we can figure out the link. Make sure to wave to the camera." And with that, she hung up. I stood there in the busy corridor of the auditorium, students and families rushing past in excitement, while I felt like the ground had disappeared beneath me. Jasmine found me still staring at my phone. "Everything okay?" I showed her the text. Her face transformed from concern to outrage. "Are you kidding me? After all their promises? That's that's just wrong, Arya." I swallowed hard. "It's fine, I'm used to it." But it wasn't fine. Not this time. This was supposed to be different. Jasmine's parents immediately adopted me for the day, insisting I sit with them during the parts of the ceremony when families were invited. Professor Williams, upon hearing my parents wouldn't make it, made a point to seek me out before the procession. "Your speech is going to be the highlight of the ceremony," he said kindly. "I'm sorry your parents will miss it in person, but know that everyone here is incredibly proud of what you've accomplished." I nodded, forcing a smile. For their sake, I would put on a brave face. This was still my day, even if my own family couldn't be bothered to witness it. As we lined up for the procession, I watched other graduates greeting their families, receiving hugs, and having photos taken. So much joy surrounding me, yet I felt hollow inside. I checked my phone again, hoping for some miracle change of heart. Nothing. During a lull before the graduates were called to be seated, I absent-mindedly scrolled through Instagram. And there it was, posted 20 minutes ago from my mother's account. A photo of my parents and Samantha all dressed up, champagne glasses in hand, at what appeared to be an upscale spa. The caption read, "Celebrating our beautiful daughter's 21st with a spa day. Nothing but the best. For our girl had proud parents, had birthday girl, had family first." There were 5 more photos in the post. My father getting a massage, my mother and Samantha with cucumber slices over their eyes, the 3 of them at lunch in the spa's fancy restaurant. All time-stamped this morning. They weren't tired. Dad wasn't sick. They had chosen Samantha's 21st birthday spa day over my graduation. They had deliberately lied to me. I felt physically ill. My hands trembled so badly I nearly dropped my phone. My vision blurred, whether from tears or shock, I couldn't tell. I staggered to the nearest bathroom, barely making it into a stall, before the first sob tore from my throat. This wasn't just their usual favoritism. This was an active choice to miss one of the most important days of my life while celebrating my sister. And they had lied about it as if I wouldn't find out. Jasmine found me there, curled around my pain like a wounded animal. "Arya, the procession is starting soon. They're calling for—" Oh my God, what happened? I wordlessly handed her my phone open to the Instagram post. "Those absolute monsters," she whispered after taking it all in. "Arya, I'm so sorry." I wiped my eyes, a strange calm settling over me as the initial shock faded into something harder, colder. "You know what, I'm done," I said, standing up straight. "I'm done seeking their approval. I'm done trying to be enough." "What are you going to do?" I checked my makeup in the mirror, fixing what tears had smudged. "I'm going to walk across that stage, accept my honors, and give a speech. But it's not going to be the speech I practiced." The Princeton University graduation ceremony was always a grand affair. 2,000 chairs arranged on the Great Lawn, a massive stage draped in the school colors and video screens, positioned strategically so everyone could see the proceedings, no matter where they sat. A professional camera crew captured everything for the live stream, which was broadcast on the university website for those who couldn't attend in person, or in my case, those who chose not to attend. As I took my seat with the other graduates in the front rows, I was acutely aware of the empty family chairs in Section C, row 7, seats 8 through 12. The tickets I had so carefully reserved for people who had never planned to use them. Dean Harrington began the ceremony with the traditional welcome speech. I barely heard it, in my lap hidden from view. I held my prepared valedictorian speech in one hand and my phone in the other. The Instagram posts of my family's celebrations still visible on the screen. 2 realities that couldn't be reconciled. The conferring of degrees took over an hour. My college, the School of Engineering and Applied Science, was called last, when they announced Arya Mitchell summa cum laude valedictorian. There was enthusiastic applause. I crossed the stage, shook hands with the dean, accepted my diploma, and smiled for the official photograph, all while feeling strangely detached, as if watching someone else go through the motions. After the degrees were conferred, Dean Harrington returned to the microphone. "And now it is my great pleasure to introduce this year's valedictorian, who will deliver the graduation address. With a perfect 4.0 grade point average and groundbreaking undergraduate research already being reviewed for publication in leading scientific journals, please welcome Arya Mitchell." More applause. I walked to the podium with my prepared speech in hand. As I adjusted the microphone, I caught sight of one of the camera operators giving me a thumbs up, confirming the live stream was working. Good. If my parents bothered to watch, I wanted them to hear every word clearly. "Thank you, Dean Harrington, distinguished faculty, fellow graduates, and families." I began, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. I looked down at my carefully crafted speech about gratitude, perseverance, and bright futures. Then I looked directly into the camera lens and set the paper aside. I had a different speech prepared today, one about supporting networks, about how none of us achieves anything alone, about the importance of those who stand behind us and lift us up. I paused, my gaze still fixed on the camera. But standing here now, I realize that sometimes the most important lesson isn't about who stands behind you. Sometimes it's about standing alone and finding the strength to keep going when the people who should care the most simply don't show up. A ripple of murmurs went through the audience. This was definitely not the usual feel-good valedictorian fare. To everyone who didn't show up, not just today, but throughout my life, I continued, my voice gaining strength. This one's for you. This achievement, this moment that you deemed unworthy of your time and attention, this is for you. I could see some uncomfortable shifting in the audience, but also many intent faces, people leaning forward in their seats. I spent years trying to be noticed, trying to be good enough, perfect grades, extra projects, working 3 jobs while maintaining a 4.0 all, in the desperate hope that finally, I would be seen, that finally, I would matter as much as someone who never had to try at all. I drew a deep breath, emotion threatening to overwhelm me. Today, I realized something. I don't need the validation I've been chasing. My worth isn't determined by those who couldn't see it. I am enough exactly as I am, with or without witnesses to my achievements. The audience had gone completely silent now. Fellow graduates, some of you are fortunate enough to be surrounded today by people who have supported every step of your journey. Cherish them. Thank them. But some of you, like me, have succeeded despite absences, despite gaps where support should have been. And to you, I say your achievement isn't lessened by who didn't see it. Your journey isn't less valuable because parts of it were walked alone. I looked out at the sea of faces, many now showing tears or nods of recognition. The most important lesson I learned at Princeton wasn't in any classroom or textbook. It was the discovery that my value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see my worth. And that is what I will carry forward from this place, far more valuable than any diploma or honor. I paused again, gathering myself for the conclusion. So as we leave here today, I hope each of you knows your intrinsic worth. I hope you stop seeking validation from those who have proven they'll never give it freely. I hope you celebrate yourselves even when no one else does. Because in the end, the only approval that truly matters is your own. I stepped back from the microphone, suddenly aware of the complete silence that had fallen over the ceremony. Had I gone too far? Ruined the celebratory atmosphere. Then from somewhere in the back, a single person began to clap. Another joined in, then another. Within seconds, the entire audience was on their feet, applauding with an intensity that took my breath away. I saw tears on many faces, graduates and family members alike. Dean Jackson approached the podium, briefly squeezing my shoulder in support as we passed. The gesture nearly undid me. I returned to my seat, legs shaky, adrenaline coursing through my veins. As the ceremony concluded, my phone began vibrating continuously in my pocket. Text after text from extended family members who had watched the live stream. My Aunt Susan. That was the most powerful speech I've ever heard. Your parents should be ashamed. My cousin Tyler. Standing ovation from my whole family in our living room. Even my father's brother, Uncle David, who rarely involved himself in family matters. Immensely proud of you, Aria. Your grandmother would have been too. Then came the first call from my mother. I silenced it without answering. During the reception that followed, dozens of strangers approached me to share how my words had resonated with them. Parents thanked me for the reminder to better support their children. Fellow graduates confided their own stories of feeling invisible in their families. Professor Williams found me amid the crowd. That was not the speech you showed me for review, he said, but his eyes were kind. I'm sorry, I began, but he waved it away. Don't be. In 30 years of teaching, I've sat through countless graduation speeches. Yours is the first I'll actually remember. My phone continued to buzz, multiple missed calls from both parents now, a few texts from Samantha alternating between confusion and anger. I silenced the device entirely and slipped it into my purse. This was my day. For once in my life, I would enjoy it without their drama. I accepted Jasmine's parents' invitation to join them for a celebration dinner. As we left campus, I noticed several people watching clips of the speech on their phones. Someone had already uploaded it to the university's social media pages, where comments were flooding in. Just before we got into the Patel's car, Samantha called Jasmine's phone, having apparently realized I was ignoring her calls. "She's crying in the parking lot of the spa," Jasmine reported after a brief conversation. "Your parents are furious. She wants to know what you said in your speech that has everyone texting them." I took the phone. "Samantha, I have to go. I'm having dinner with people who actually showed up for me today. Enjoy your spa day." It was clearly the more important event. I hung up feeling a strange mixture of guilt and satisfaction. The guilt was an old habit, one I was determined to break. The satisfaction was new, unfamiliar, but not unwelcome. That evening, surrounded by Jasmine and her loving family, I finally allowed myself to celebrate my achievement on my own terms. No more seeking validation from those who had proven yet again that they would never freely give it. The morning after graduation dawned with a clarity I hadn't experienced before. As I packed my dorm room into neat boxes, I felt both lighter and heavier. Lighter from shedding the weight of seeking approval I would never receive. Heavier with the knowledge that confronting this truth meant nothing would ever be the same with my family. My phone, which I had finally turned back on, showed 47 missed calls and texts. Most were from my mother, growing increasingly frantic and angry. Several were from my father, his messages shorter but more threatening, using words like embarrassment and selfishness. The rest were from Samantha, alternating between defending our parents and expressing confused hurt. The final message from my mother read, "We expect you home tomorrow to explain yourself. Your father is livid about the public humiliation. How could you do this to our family?" Not, "How are you feeling?" Not, "We're sorry we missed your graduation." Just concern for their image and comfort. Jasmine found me staring at the messages. "You don't have to go home, you know. You could stay with my family until your new apartment is ready next month." I considered it briefly, the temptation to avoid confrontation almost overwhelming. But no, running away would just be another form of seeking their approval, showing I still cared enough to avoid their displeasure. "I need to face them," I said finally. "I need to get my remaining belongings anyway." "Then I'm coming with you," Jasmine declared in a tone that brooked no argument. "You're not facing them alone." We finished packing my things and loaded them into Jasmine's car. The 3-hour drive to my childhood home felt both endless and too short. Jasmine filled the silence with plans for our post-graduation road trip, the new apartment we would share in the city, anything to keep my mind off what awaited me. As we pulled into the familiar driveway, I noted that both my parents' cars were there along with Samantha's. They were waiting for me, a united front against the ungrateful daughter who had dared to speak her truth. My father opened the door before I could even knock. His face was a rigid mask of controlled anger. "Get inside," he said tersely. "Who's this?" he added, noticing Jasmine behind me. "This is Jasmine, my roommate and friend. She's coming in with me." He looked like he wanted to object, but simply turned and walked toward the living room, expecting us to follow. My mother and Samantha sat on the couch, both with tear-stained faces. The coffee table between us seemed like a demilitarized zone. "Well," my father began without preamble, "would you care to explain why you chose to publicly humiliate your family in front of thousands of people? Do you have any idea how many calls we've received? How many people have seen that speech online?" I remained standing, Jasmine a solid presence beside me. "I didn't mention any names in my speech," I said calmly. "I spoke my truth about how it feels to be constantly overlooked in favor of someone else. If people connected that to our family, perhaps you should ask yourselves why that connection was so obvious to everyone who knows us." "This is ridiculous," my mother interjected. "We've always supported both our daughters equally. This dramatic victim narrative you've created is just not true." I laughed at the sound, sharp and humorless. "Equally? Really, Mom?" Should we compare Samantha's last 5 birthdays to mine? Or how about graduation celebrations? Or perhaps we could count the number of your Facebook and Instagram posts about each of us over the years? I actually did that once, you know. Care to guess the ratio? My father's face reddened. You've always been so competitive with your sister. We raised you both according to your different needs and interests. It's not our fault you chose a path that requires less visible support. Less visible support? I echoed incredulously. You chose a spa day over my graduation. You lied about being too tired to attend the most important day of my academic career, then posted photos of yourselves celebrating Samantha's birthday, which, by the way, isn't even until next week. How is that less visible support rather than blatant favoritism? At this, Samantha finally spoke up, her voice small. They said you wouldn't mind, that you were independent and didn't need them there. And you believe that? I asked her directly. After I called multiple times to confirm they were coming. After I reserved tickets and sent the livestream link and talked about my speech for weeks. Samantha looked down, saying nothing. We don't appreciate your tone, my mother said stiffly. After everything we've done for you. What exactly have you done for me? I challenged. I worked 3 jobs through college. I applied for every scholarship myself. I bought my own clothes, my own books, my own food most of the time. Meanwhile, Samantha's community college tuition is paid in full, plus her apartment, her car, her phone bill. That's different, my father interrupted. Samantha is pursuing a career in fashion. That requires connections and presentation we need to support. And my career in artificial intelligence research doesn't deserve support. You've always been able to handle yourself, my mother said, as if this were a compliment rather than an admission of neglect. Samantha needs more guidance. I took a deep breath, fighting to maintain my composure. Do you hear yourselves? You're literally admitting you give her more support because you think I don't need it, not because I don't deserve it. This conversation is getting us nowhere, my father declared. The point is, you embarrassed us publicly, and we demand an apology. The sheer audacity of his demand left me momentarily speechless. Jasmine squeezed my arm in silent support. No, I said finally. I will not apologize for speaking my truth. If my speech made you uncomfortable, perhaps you should examine why instead of demanding I silence myself to protect your comfort. My mother's face hardened. If that's your attitude, perhaps you should get your things and leave until you've had time to reconsider your position. Gladly, I replied, turning toward the stairs. Jasmine, can you help me? As we headed upstairs to my childhood bedroom, I heard the front door slam. Glancing out the window, I saw Samantha running toward the driveway, clearly upset. Jasmine and I quickly packed the remainder of my belongings. There wasn't much. Most of my life was already packed in her car from the dorm. I took only what couldn't be replaced photo albums, a few childhood mementos, the telescope I'd finally bought myself as a college graduation present, to replace the one I never received as a child. When we came back downstairs, my parents were still in the living room, now arguing in hushed voices that stopped abruptly when they saw us. We're leaving, I announced. I'll text you my new address if you decide you want to have a real conversation some